spoke in Toronto was 2004, 8th March 2004, again, the invitation of Homa, here in the center, I think it was. Then we were all in the fear that we're going to have another Islamic Republic here in Ontario. But thank you to all of you for not letting that happen and dismantling or not allowing the Sharia law to become a sort of law, an established law here in Ontario. And that made our fight also easier all over. Well, I mean, another organization I work with that's not here is a sort of international and especially European organization, European Feminist Initiative, and we work together there in Europe and also in the Middle East for women's rights, women's equality, and also for secularism, and also for a world free of all this terrorism that you have coming from both sides, both Islamic terrorism and what I call the state terrorism led by the USA. So these are the things we try to fight against and try to make a better world for everybody and for women. I'd like to talk a little bit first about religion and then get into Islam. I remember when earthquake trembled Haiti, I think you all remember, and exposed the ugly face of injustice intertwined in the lives of underprivileged people in Haiti. It was terrible, I couldn't watch the news. But anytime I did, just to see what's happening, there were these talk about miracles in Haiti. Like a child was found after a few days, a man after a few days living on coke was found, and then saying miracles, miracles, and we were also reminded of more than 100,000 being killed, and people have no place to live, nothing, no water, nothing. But still these small miracles came to the news. I remember one of them was about a child, a very small child, who was found from under the rubble, and everyone said, miracle, that's God's work. My 12-year-old son looked at me and said, where was God when more than 100,000 people were killed? And I said, well, God seems to be doing wonders, and one of them is the treatment of women. All religions treat women very, very brutally and oppressively. There is a book called Does God Hate Women? Co-authored by Ophelia Benson. I was asked by the publisher to write a review on that book. I never thought about it in that context, God hating women, even though I was grown up as a child and a teenager to sort of hate what religion and religious ideas and customs and traditions and values did to women. I'm born in Iran and I was raised in Iran. I wasn't under oppression in my family, but I hated to see what it could do. And I hated more when I saw many women thank God for what they had, or for more for what they didn't have. But God hating women probably is also a good way to look at it. And I think these two observations, one by my 12-year-old son and another one by this book, summarize religion quite nicely, show what the violence and the misogynic nature of religion, all religions. All of them are patriarchal, all of them are misogynist, and the role of women, if they do go by the book, is they're the slave of men, the property of men. They're there to serve men and provide them with children. All religions promote violence. Maybe some people now get so, no, there are a lot of niceties about religion, care for your neighbor, but just to think of it the other way. All religions promote war on the infidel, non-believer, a person even believing in the other gods. The books say it, maybe we don't believe it now, but this is the word of all the books. And all the soldiers of these religions and all the soldiers of one God who's fighting against people who believe in another God, they all are encouraged to use violence against what's called their enemies. Their enemies could be believers in another religion, enemies could be just infidel or non-believers. When we look at it, the history, more people, more human beings have been killed under the name of God or religion throughout the history. After that comes nationalism, but first place goes to religion. More human beings have been killed under the name of religion and God throughout the history. One of the things that I was, actually just recently I was thinking about it when all these talks about women and even men being raped in the prisons of Islamic regime came. I started really thinking about rape and the relation of rape to sort of oppressiveness and all sorts of things and how we could. And then I realized religions look at rape as both punishment and reward. I'll tell you how that is. It's punishment. Disobedient woman should be raped. A woman who does not do what she's told to do is free to be raped. And the soldiers of God who go and try to fight an enemy and bring them to their own faith are rewarded by rape of women of their enemy. Islam is like that, Judaism is like that, believe me, Christianity, all of them do that. Rape as reward and as punishment. Actually, Islam has something very interesting. It promises its soldiers, its pious men who fight for its expansion, for its preservation and fight for it, they are promised in heaven, what the ones who are killed for Islam, are promised tens of virgin beauties in the heaven. I don't know what the exact number, maybe Tarek can help me. I think it's about 70, isn't it? 70 virgin beauties in heaven are promised to pious Muslim men who fight for Islam. Raping the women of enemy, raping 9-year-old girls under the name of marriage, or raping an infidel, a non-believer virgin before she's executed. Something is happening now in the Islamic regime's jails. It's been happening over the past 30 years, and it happens other places too, are not only justified, but encouraged by Islam. Women are evil. They're source of evil. All religions ask women, or older women, command women to cover themselves or be pious so men are not going to sin. If in Islam we're asked to cover ourselves, not because of ourselves, so men can be safe and not fall into sinning. This is, all of them have it. It's not only Islam, but Islam has it in a really, really exaggerated way, commanding women to cover themselves from head to toe, the veil. That's exactly for keeping men from sinning. Even that, Muhammad himself had, I don't know, how many wives? I was just reading the other day, the amount was so many I couldn't remember. Even that. Even then women were ordered to cover themselves still. And one of the funny things I was thinking, when women pray, they have to cover themselves. And I was thinking, well, women cannot pray in the company of men. It's gender apartheid everywhere in the society, especially when you pray. You have to be with other women or alone in a room to pray. Then why do you have to cover yourself? Do you want to also keep the God from sinning? Because I can see, okay, if you bend and get up and do that, maybe men start getting all sorts of ideas and start sinning, but you're all women. So the only explanation I could find is that God even should not see you uncovered. So you have to be covered from top to toe. The veil is actually the epitome of Islam when it comes to its relation to women. The veil is both the tool and symbol of women's subjugation under Islam. An instrument for gender apartheid, which is one of the main columns of Islamic society. And in today's world, at least since Islamic regime came to power in Iran in the end of 70s, the veil has become the banner of Islamist movement, of political Islam. So it's not only religious anymore, it's got this political connotation too. Gender apartheid and the veil are the symbols, the banner of a society under the grip of Islam. Well, I don't have time to really dwell on this issue and elaborate. You know, I would have loved to. I've written an article, my book is there, about the veil and sort of gone more deeply into it. But I'd like just to say 2 points. One of them is, I think in every civilized society, the veil for underage girls should be banned. The veil is sheer abuse of children's rights. The veil deprives a girl from a happy, normal life. It assigns to her a definite division of sexes in the society. It discriminates against her from the beginning, from the boys of her own age. So if you go by any convention of children's rights, the veil should be banned for underage girls. The veil for me is like corporal punishment for children. If we ban corporal punishment by teachers, in institutions and by parents, then we should ban the veil as well. If we ban job labor for children, then we should ban the veil as well. If we ban sexual harassment of children, then we should ban the veil as well. They're the same category. Same category. Just think of a 9-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl that has to wear the veil and be confined in that prison. See, then just close your eyes and think 2 minutes about this and see what a girl goes through. Then I think we have to all try and fight for that. The veil for underage girls has to be banned. Another issue which is now very heated debate in Europe is the burka or niqab. I believe the burka and niqab have to be banned in public. I'm not talking about the veil, just scarf or any other for adults, adult women. I'm talking about the one that covers your face. People say, what about the right of freedom of religion? I say, what about the right of the society? There are many things you ban because of the safety of the society. This is one of them. I like very much to smoke here, but you would not let me do that because it's danger to your house. The burqa is the same. We need to communicate with people around us when we walk around on the streets, when we sit on the bus, when we go to a doctor, when we go to an office, when we work in the society. You cannot communicate with a faceless, ghost-like entity. I wouldn't call it human being, entity. From society's point of view, and not from women's point of view. Well, the veil, to me, is an instrument and symbol of subjugation of women, but if some adult women like to choose slavery, let them do it. I would talk against it, but this is their choice. But the veil just deprives them of any human identity. A woman under a burqa or niqab has no identity whatsoever. You just see some ghost-like entities walking around. This is the extreme degradation of women. And from that point of view, too, it should be banned. It's an abuse of women. So I think we should ban burqa and niqab in any society. I'm not talking only about the West, I'm talking anywhere we can. That should be banned. And from that, I just want to very quickly go to cultural relativism, which is one of the topics related to today's conference, and I think it's a very important topic. It's not as vigorous. The defenders now are not defending it as vigorously as they did in the 80s or 90s. Basically more at 90s. It really became an issue after the fall of the Soviet Union, after the fall of Cold War, and as a sort of byproduct or as a product of postmodernism. Before that, there were some things you would believe right, wrong, good, bad. And then after that, postmodernism, anything can be good, anything can be bad, anything can be wrong, anything can be right. It depends on, I mean, maybe it's a bit vulgarism of what I'm trying to say, but the essence of it, when it came to the real society, was that. And cultural relativism was one of its products. So anybody's culture was good. I was raised thinking that the veil is not good, or this, I mean, beating women is not good, or, I mean, there are some values that everyone in the world in the 60s, 70s fought for, but all of a sudden in the 80s, 90s, everything was okay, as long as your culture says, as long as your religion says, everything is fine, nothing is wrong. And apparently, this concept, this notion, came into effect, was applied, was defended and justified in a way to curtail or diminish racism. That's what is justification, but that's falsification of what cultural relativism really means in our lives. It's hypocrisy. So cultural relativism is racism, is reactionary. You're looking at a society, people, just because supposedly they come from another culture that I don't even know what it is, arbitrary concept and notion, they should have different rights. A woman who's born in France can have more rights and enjoy more freedom than me just because I was, by luck, was born in Iran? Why? Who justifies that? Who says that's right? The notions of liberty, freedom, equality, they were sacred notions we fought for. What happened to them? And culture and religion all of a sudden got priority over all of these. I think we should fight cultural relativism, say what it is, racism and reactionary, and have no fear just because we look differently, because we have blonde hair, or this doesn't seem that we come from that part of the world, because some people are scared to say that, because they're scared to be branded as racist. But racism is actually defending cultural relativism, because you are defending discrimination against millions of women, millions of children, millions of men. Well, but with all of this, I just want to finish my talk with some hope, some message of hope, which I think it comes from Iran. Even though it's now a bit silenced, but last year, this time, everyone was watching on TV, and all these brave young men and women on the street fighting the regime and fighting the sort of the security forces, the oppressive forces. Everyone was excited. Everyone saw another image of Iran, because the media and academia, they did a good job in giving you guys the impression that Iran is an Islamic society, but you saw it differently. You saw differently. You saw Neda, you saw so many other women and men dressing differently, fighting for their freedom, fighting for their liberty, women ahead of everyone. And then you realize this Iran is not the Iran that you heard about all the time on CBC, all the other CNN and the media. It was different. It's a bit silenced now, but it doesn't mean it's finished. It's not. And I believe that once people in Iran have overthrown the Islamic regime, especially women's liberation movement has a very, very focal and important role in this fight. Not only women in Iran or people of Iran will see a better world a world freer, secular, with less discrimination, we would also see a window to equality, freedom, and secularism will open to the whole region under the grip of Islam. I'm talking about Middle East and North Africa. Islamic regime is one of the leaders of the Islamic movement and Islamic terrorism. Once you pull that down, and by the uprising of the people, then all the justification or sanctity or whatever you have, ideological justification that this regime has tried to develop for itself, the image, they're all going to be washed away. And women, especially in that region, are going to see a hope for equality and freedom and living under secularism in those societies. So I want to ask you all to support the movement of people in Iran, but I also want to remind you of something. People of Iran are capable of overthrowing this regime. They do not need economic sanctions, they do not need war. Economic sanctions get its first victims from the people itself, the deprived people who are already living under the poverty line, more than 50%. The economic sanction will not bring the regime down, just like it did not bring Saddam Hussein's regime down for 10 years. Over 10 years of sanction over Iraq, 1 million people died as a result of sanction. Saddam became even stronger. And the war. Just think about what happened in Iraq, how a society became a killing field, destroyed, ruined, and how actually that war strengthened the Islamic movement and Islamic terrorism, how everyone turned into different sects, killing each other and tearing each other apart. Supporting people of Iran against the Islamic regime actually means that you have to say no to war, no to economic sanctions, but try with other means to support the real difficult and battle people have in Iran against the Islamic regime, against Islamism, and for a better world. Thank you.